we're going to ask Martha DeReamer to come up and introduce our wonderful speaker.
Jerry. Good afternoon, everyone. You know, one of the things I really do enjoy most about Rotary is learning about all the great organizations in our community, and I'm so pleased to introduce you to one today and our speaker. Fayette Alliance for 10 years has been helping our community handle the delicate juggling act of encouraging sustainable growth while at the same time preserving our precious land and resources. The things that people come all over the world to see here in Lexington. The folks at Fayette Alliance are really the workhorses that are looking out for our best interests, attending all the land use meetings, keeping a watchful eye on the way we grow and develop, and again, preserving our precious resources. So I'm pleased to introduce to you Susan Specker, the newly hired, I guess, Executive Director of Fayette Alliance. And you can read about Susan's impressive credentials in the Wheelhorse, but I can tell you she's a gift to our community, sent to us from New Orleans. Thank you very much. And a great person to get to know, so I'm going to let her do most of the talking, and please ask you to give a warm welcome to Susan Specker.
Thank all of you so much for the opportunity to be with you today. My father was a Rotarian. I have had the great pleasure of coming to many lunches, and I really want to thank you all for your commitment to the community and your service. I have been in my position for about 2 months, so I'm very green, but it's an organization that I have been associated with really since it started back in 2006. So I was most previously the general counsel for the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, and that's an industry that I care about deeply, and I'm excited to be able to continue to serve that industry just in kind of a different way. So the Fayette Alliance, we're celebrating our 10 years this year. And we are Lexington's only land use advocacy organization. We were founded by a group of committed citizens who realized that Lexington is a very special place, and that in order to keep it special, we needed an organization that could actively lobby our city hall for smart growth policies to grow our city in a sustainable way and to promote our farms. So there are 3 general areas that inform our work: preserving our unique farms, advancing innovative development and infill, and improving our infrastructure. And we advocate for these goals at local government. There are a couple of misconceptions about the Fayette Alliance that I've heard, and I want to address them. The first is that we are anti-growth, and that is not correct. We are growing. We embrace that. That's a good thing for a community. The question is, how do we accommodate growth? We promote smart, intentional growth as opposed to unmitigated sprawl. We take a balanced approach. In order to preserve the farmland, we have to work for infill and redevelopment projects in a sustainable way that improves quality of life. So we advocate for infill and redevelopment and innovative uses of available land. Our motto is growing our city and promoting our farms, and we see those 2 missions as inextricably linked, 2 sides of the same coin. So we take basically a 3-pronged approach to advancing our mission. My main job is that I am basically a lobbyist. So we spend a lot of time at City Hall with the council, the mayor, other policymakers and decision makers, educating them about smart land use policies and procedures. We want to work with stakeholders because we all have the same goal, making our city a great place to live and work. We operate in a very transparent manner. We publish our position statements. They're on our website. And if you check them out, you'll notice that they're rooted in data and the law and then policy positions that support our mission. So we're not a gotcha type of organization. We're very transparent, and I believe that is part of the reason that our organization has been so successful in the decade that it's existed. We have helped usher over 105 major land use policies onto the books. We supported over $750 million in infill projects and helped save over 8,000 acres of farmland from sprawl. We also offer education and outreach programs throughout the year, and we conduct and are involved in different research projects. Right now, we have partnered with the Home Builders Association and the Lexington Realtors Association, as well as the city, to conduct a housing market demand analysis to understand what our housing needs will be for the next decade. And we also do a lot of work with Martha and the Matrix Group to conduct objective community surveys to get the data that support our research and our positions. So by advocating for better infill and redevelopment incentives, we make it easier and more likely that vacant, blighted, and underused land will be reclaimed for commercial, residential, and industrial uses, improving the real estate values and vibrancy of our city. By advocating for the promotion of our farmland, we help protect one of our signature industries, our important cultural assets, and our factory floor, which provides an enormous amount of economic development and jobs. And by promoting sustainable infrastructure policies, our work improves Lexington's environment and quality of life. We are one organization that's actually made up of two entities. I tell people when I was doing my due diligence on Fayette Alliance, I was very impressed with how, unlike some other nonprofits, this organization has really been run like a business. There's strategic planning with our partners, Trek Advancement, who are guests here today, and we're very secure, we're not going anywhere, and we have a strategic plan for the future. The C4 enables us to lobby, and we also recently have launched the C3, our foundation, that we're very excited about. That will enable us to take kind of a long view on our education, outreach, and research initiatives. This brings me to the second misconception about Fayette Alliance, and that is the folks that comprise us. There is a misconception that we're just comprised of thoroughbred farm owners, and that is not accurate. We do have a lot of support from the horse industry, the entirety of the horse industry, and that's very important. But we also have people on our board and supporters who are leaders in affordable housing, economic development. We have developers, people in the construction industry, bankers, realtors, cattle farmers, general ag farmers, UK Healthcare, the Markey Cancer Center. Mike Delzadi from the Markey Cancer Foundation is here today. They're very important partners of ours. Planners, neighborhood associations, teachers, you name it. The word alliance really accurately describes our organization because we're comprised of a group of citizens who really care about the community. I moved here from New Orleans actually 3 weeks before Hurricane Katrina, so in 2005. And I went to work, I was fortunate to be hired by Stahl Keenan Ogden, and I worked in planning and zoning. And in New Orleans, there was some zoning, but there's not a lot of planning. So I was really struck by how well planned Lexington is. And I put an emphasis on the planning. When you think about planning, it's not just a set of laws, but it's really the building blocks for how a community defines itself and a community's quality of life. It's sort of the vision that we have of what our community can be. There are two aspects that I want to talk about briefly of planning and zoning in Kentucky and in Fayette County that really struck me when I moved here, and that's the comprehensive plan and the urban service boundary. The comprehensive plan, by state law in Kentucky, all planning units have to do a comprehensive plan that can be updated every 5 years. So our comp plan in Fayette County will be updated in 2017, and the preliminary work and studies are being conducted right now. The Fayette Alliance has always been very involved in this process, and we are involved in this process now. The second feature is the urban service boundary, and I think this map of Fayette County is really powerful. I think it really tells the story of how Lexington has been so intentional about its growth. In 1958, we were the first city in the country to create an urban service boundary, which is a growth boundary. And this is largely what has enabled us to avoid having the kind of sprawl that other communities have experienced. Each time the city updates its comp plan, it can choose to expand, contract, or hold the line. And each time there's a big push for expansion. The Fayette Alliance was in part created in 2006 to advocate against expansion at that time. And we were successful in those efforts, and we've been successful ever since then. So you think about communities that we've all visited that are dealing with the issues created by sprawl. And we can really learn from those communities, and I think Lexington has learned from those communities. Growing out into our green fields, that is not always the best solution to accommodate growth. We currently have roughly 12,000 acres of vacant, underused, or blighted property inside the urban service boundary. So our position is, we are growing, let's grow, but let's do it in a way where we're fixing and improving what we already have, instead of encroaching upon that which makes us unique. That's in everyone's interest. The boundary has been largely effective in preventing sprawl, but not always. In 2005, the Inner Bluegrass region, including Fayette County, was placed on the World Monument Fund's list of one of the 100 most endangered cultural landscapes in the world, along with the Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China. So why does it matter? Why is it so important to protect our farms? You all know this. There's a recent University of Kentucky College of Ag study that measured the direct and indirect economic impact of our ag industry just in Fayette County, and it found that our farmland, our rural areas, anchor a $2.4 billion industry that provides 1 in 9 jobs in Fayette County. So Fayette County also generates the highest ag receipts of any county in Kentucky. And it's primarily horses and cattle. And for those of you who are farmers here, you know that in order to continue to raise the greatest livestock in the world, we need the land in order to do that. Our land is special. It's prime soils, rich in phosphorus, and that's what helps grow these incredible livestock that we enjoy here. So unlike some rural areas in the country, our rural area is really an economic engine. We call it our factory floor, and Fayette County and the state can't afford to lose it. I am under time, the first time in my life. I'm very excited about that. I was told to stay on script, and I did. So I would be happy. I do want to mention, I mentioned the University of Kentucky study. We have information about the Fayette Alliance, our contact information. I have some of my business cards at the table in the front. It's a really powerful study. I'd be happy to send you a link to it. And there's also the state cabinet for tourism, arts and heritage does a tourism study And they just put out the study for 2014, 2015, and that study is also very interesting. The Jefferson County has the highest total expenditures in tourism at $3.3 billion. Fayette County is next for 2014, 2015, over $2 billion in expenditures related to tourism that's largely due to our horse farms and also our growing bourbon industry here. So I would be happy to send you all links to those studies. I think that if you haven't seen them, this is a group that I think would be interested in them. If you want to shoot me an email, I'd be happy to do that. And I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you. Yes?
Is part of your plan also the expansion of the bike routes? Because those are beautiful, going through the countryside. I just passed one on Ironworks Pike, that expansion. When I bring people from out of town here and they're bicyclists, they spend a weekend, it's awesome to have that as a part of our community that's actually really developing.
Yes, we have actually funded a rural trail study, and we're working with the city and with the, there's a lot of momentum right now with Town Branch, and there are plans to connect some of those rails. We really, part of what we try to do is connect our city with our rural farm area to try to create ways for people to enjoy the farm area, and that's one of the important ways. We also recently supported an amendment to our zoning ordinance that created some greater opportunities for recreation in the rural area, but in a way that is compatible with existing agricultural operations. That's a concern for a lot of farm owners. But yes, we are very interested in supporting of trails.
Yeah. Because going from Town Branch out is going to be really great.
It is going to be really great. It's very exciting.
Susan, as we continue to grow, more people want to move to Lexington and put pressure on the urban service boundary. What are we doing, or what's Fayette Alliance doing with regionalism and those conversations spill over?
That's a good question, and something that I haven't, in all frankness, spent that much time really studying since I've been on board. I know there have been efforts to talk about regional planning in the past, and there are challenges to that. But I think that as we address our growth, like what you're talking about, we're going to have those conversations again, for sure. Yes, sir.
With state government cutting back on the University of Kentucky and with things uncertain at Lexmark and layoffs and things like that, I've had a number of recent conversations where folks think that we need another big employer in order to continue wage progress and have competitive wages in Lexington. Where are we going to put the next Toyota or Lexmark?
There are, as I said, there's, I think the inventory of vacant land is somewhere, I've heard two different numbers recently. I've heard 7,200 and I've heard around 5,000. Now, you're asking about contiguous acreage, which is more complicated, but there are contiguous areas, for example, Coldstream. I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure why the large contiguous acres that we have available for economic development haven't been developed. So my answer would be one to try to find out what the answer to that is. If there are impediments, University of Kentucky owns Coldstream, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And I think that that's actually governed by state law. I don't think that the University of Kentucky could just sell that property. But I think that we need to, before we just say we're going to move out, we need to really understand what's available inside and why we haven't used the available acres that we have. So that would be our position. Our position is we need to study and have research and data to support anything we do with respect to planning. And certainly if there's any discussion about expansion. Because once you go out, you can't take that back. So we are involved in that research, and we work with the planning division to try to make sure that that research gets done. We have a very good planning division here, and I think that they're committed to providing that kind of research and making sure that they are suggesting intentional planning, as opposed to just kind of reactive. Yes, ma'am.
Another organization called Bluegrass Tomorrow. What is the, what do you stand for against what they expect?
Do you mean Bluegrass Conservancy?
Well, I call it Bluegrass Tomorrow.
Bluegrass Tomorrow. I'm not really sure about Bluegrass Tomorrow. I know a lot of people confuse us with Bluegrass Conservancy. They're a land conservation organization, and what they do is they do conservation easements. So they really work with individual farm owners to place easements in their deeds so that the land cannot be developed. So that's, yeah,
That's the new name.
right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did the Alliance support or not support, advocate for the design standards?
We were supportive of the design standards. We were disappointed that those died. I think it was obviously started with some of the center point, the history of center points, but most communities have those kinds of. There was a zoning ordinance amendment that was proposed to have some design standards for downtown. And there was a diverse group of stakeholders who were put on a working group to kind of come up with a consensus. And I think they worked for about 4 years, and it died. So we were disappointed. I'm not sure what the options are at this time for that, because you can't bring that exact piece of legislation back. Yes, sir.
How much influence or cooperation you have with adjoining counties?
I think that goes kind of to what Kathy was asking. And again, I'm new. I'm trying to get my hands around Fayette County right now. But we are obviously, we touch communities around us, and our relationships are important. And I do think it's going to become increasingly more important. Thank you all so much.
Susan, we want to give you a certain little special memento as a thank you for spending your time with us today and sharing some very great information with us. Isn't it neat when we hear from our speakers that somewhere along the line there's heritage, Rotary heritage, and her dad being a member of Rotary? As this is membership month, I'd be remiss as president, but if I didn't say, we'd like to invite you to consider becoming a member at some time.